You are listening to A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast that tells the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. So kick back, relax, and grab a cold one. The show starts now. Hello, my name is Dan Bobian, and I write, produce, and host A One Pint Stand. I'm ecstatic that you're listening. This episode of A One Pint Stand is proudly sponsored by Railworks Brewing Depot, Columbia Heights' first brew pub, proudly serving house-made barbecue, delicious cocktails and mocktails, and a large variety of craft beers. RailworksBrewingDepot.com. Happy 2025 to all my wonderful and amazing A One Pint Stand listeners. On this episode, I took on a Herculean task of combing through every single episode that I recorded in 2025. And I have curated a selection of clips to make a best of 2024 highlight episode. I typically try to do a kind of a wrap up of the year that was and do a little like looking into the future. And while I really enjoyed doing that, I just, kind of rolled the dice and thought maybe we do something different to kick off 2025. And I kind of landed on a highlight show. I have always long been a sucker for any type of highlight show or clip show because I think those are really fun, getting little snippets of things put together in hopefully an amusing way. As I was going back over all the literally hours of conversation, I found myself marveling at all the wonderful chats that I had with a fabulous collection of people. So I give you the best of 2024 A One Pint Stand show. Now, just a little bit of kind of numbers for you. In 2024, I actually recorded 25 episodes, and that resulted in 3,793 listens. Those numbers show a couple things, but first, that people are finding the podcast, and it's continuing to get into more and more people's ears, which I think is great. It's definitely, I feel, very important to tell the stories of the Minnesota craft beer industry and craft beverage industry because there's a lot of great things and a lot of great passion happening. Second, there's no show, no podcast, no anything without amazing people in the craft beverage industry willing to sit down with me and have a conversation, and that is not lost on me. I know that this is not a big podcast. It's a small, teeny tiny little podcast in the grand scheme of things, and the topic is pretty niche. However, I believe that it is serving a purpose of informing, entertaining, and inspiring more and more listeners each month. The kind of good positivity that this podcast is putting out is definitely necessary, I think, in our world. So hearing about other people's passions and excitement and talents, I think, is always a good thing. So cheers to you all for taking time to listen, share, review, and tell your friends and family about A One Pint Stand. All right, our first highlight clip comes from the very first episode of 2024 that was published on January 7th. My guest was Paige Dodora, who is no stranger to A One Pint Stand, or probably if you've been following craft beer for any amount of time, you know who Paige is. We were chatting about THC beverages and how they were going to be a big deal in 2024. Funny enough, one of the major reasons why people are finding THC so popular is that many people are looking to decrease or totally move away from alcohol. It coincided, as we were talking about it, coincided with Paige cracking open a crowler of beer, and that made me laugh a lot. So here you go. The THC thing, let's circle back to that. I think one thing that maybe, I don't know if it's kismet or the right place at the right time, but it certainly sounds like it has become quite the financial boon to breweries at a time when breweries need a little bit of a financial B12 shot.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think THC just the same as seltzer, is a little bit less expensive to produce than beer, I believe. Just the raw ingredients. I think there's different ways to do it, different ways that people are using the THC itself, but it's a little less time, a little less raw ingredient input. I think it has been a pretty, not only that, but a way to expand to a different market. As some people may want to cut back on alcohol, either now or at certain times of the year, or just want to have more variety. THC is a good way to have a totally different product. But there are some places that won't let you drink both in the same sitting or in the same night. So different breweries are managing that different ways. Some people are just kind of using the honor system. Other people are like stamping hands. But that's kind of a little bit of a uncharted territory in terms of, should people really be mixing beer and THC, and who's in charge of that? Yeah,
I know that right off the top of my head, I know that 56 and Arbeiter make you choose, which direction you're going to go with your evening. And then that's all you can, you have to stay on that path, which I think is probably good. I don't know. I don't know how well those two animals play together
and I feel like, I'm not a big user of the jazz cabbage in any form, but I think most people who partake in marijuana of any form typically don't mix it with alcohol. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard is people it's not a huge restriction to have to choose one or the other. Most people kind of know what path they want to take.
Yeah. I guess there's only been one time in my life where somebody was adamant that when they drink, as long as they finish the night with a little bit of jazz cabbage, they don't get sick. And that person's theory was disproved at about 3:45 a.m. in my 8-person tent along the Root River at my brother-in-law's bachelor party. And so that was a very interesting time.
You didn't get him out to the river to do his business in time, huh?
No, he was having trouble with the zipper on the tent. And,
we've all been there.
And I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. And then it was bad news.
And I think people think that there are federal regulations or even state laws about mixing alcohol and THC, like in a beverage. And I don't think that that's actually against the law. I think it's a lot of people who are hearing from their insurance companies or from other interested parties that they shouldn't be doing that. But I think that regulation is kind of a myth.
I just saw something today. As a matter of fact, I went to Makwa Coffee in Roseville with my good buddy Charles.
I haven't been, but I've heard it's really good.
It is really good. It's very cute. I ran into somebody I went to elementary school with.
Oh, that is cute.
And I was like, this is going to sound weird, but is your name Tabitha?
You've been doing a lot of that
and
lately.
She's like, well, it's kind of how I live my life. I should just have a T-shirt that says, this is going to sound weird, but ... And then I engaged them in conversation.
It would save you some time.
That awkward introductory statement. But we were sitting there and he saw something come across his social media feed that said Fair State is no longer allowed to serve their chill state
in the
tap room because the building manager doesn't want that.
The building, see there again. It's another. What's the word? I don't know what the word is. It's another party of interest or some sort of pressure that's really not the law. But I hadn't heard that. One of my good friends is one of their reps specifically for Chill State. I'll have to ask him about that. Was that really recent?
I think, he saw it today. So that must have been
that's so strange. Like a building owner, that's very strange.
Well, it seems like
they've been plugging along as a successful business for so long.
There's more consistency with regulation of super glue than there is with THC. And that just seems really weird given how big of a thing it is as far as like mood, the ability to alter your mood. And
and impact just, for example, your driving. One thing I did want to mention actually about THC is I saw in the last couple of maybe weeks or maybe a month, I've seen that Fulton has been putting a lot of marketing towards like kind of this idea of a guaranteed dose. So I'm, again, not an expert in the devil's lettuce, but I have heard that they have a way of determining exactly the dose that ends up in the finished product, and they're guaranteeing that dose is going to stay on the shelf. And my understanding, I bet someone's screaming at their computer right now, but the idea is that I think BPA or some of the chemicals that are in the can can absorb THC. And so kind of the potency over time can change. And I've seen Fulton come out as being very vocal as like, this is a guarantee that, this is going to stay, this dose is going to stay this dose. Sorry, that was not very articulate, but I did think it was interesting and I want to learn a little bit more about it.
That's interesting. I wonder how they... How do they... Well, I suppose you just test it by like different dates of cans and see.
Yes. And I don't know if they're using like a different material that they think is not going to impact it as much.
How fast do you blow through the bag of Funyuns with this?
That's right.
1 week old can,
right.
6 week old can, and just like it's very controlled.
That's right.
Interesting.
Get the munchies on and off. You got to keep trying your beverages.
I think, so THC is a very interesting thing that has really kind of blown up here. And I know that I think Bob Galligan has mentioned several times that a lot of states are looking to us for how to implement their programs and things like that, which I think is really cool. Also, kind of another kind of big thing that seems like it's really, it's been building for many years, but people reassessing their relationships with alcohol.
Constant.
Right on cue, cracking a beer.
Yeah, not me. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. The next clip is, I started doing kind of a fun little kind of offshoot version of a One Pint Stand, or different, I guess you could call it a different series of interviews that centered around spirits. And a good friend of mine, Elle Rhodes, who I affectionately refer to as my spirit Sherpa, has joined me for several episodes. We did one on vodka, and this particular one was all about gin. And we were at a bar in South Minneapolis called Luna and the Bear, and they have an eye-popping array of gins available. And our conversation centered around how do you kind of like, if you like gin, how can you find some good unique gins, and then that kind of spiraled into how do you construct a good home bar to make sure that you have not only enough base spirits but like other accoutrements so you can make some really exciting cocktails. So here you go. So obviously like we're here at the Luna and the Bear, and they have a fantastic selection of gins behind the bar. Are there, when you go into a liquor store, is that something that you are likely to find is kind of a nicer variety of different things, or is it going to be kind of what I would, maybe mainstream is not the right term?
That's a good term. Macro distillery sort of situation.
Yeah.
Depending on where you go, like everything else, like are you going to find a good selection of craft beer? Are you going to find a good selection of spirit or whatever? Like France 44, South Lindale, Certix, Elevated, all of those places are going to have a good selection.
Okay.
Because not only because craft spirits has increased, but also just the category, kind of like agave has, grown so much. Gin has also grown so much. So depending on where you go, you should be able to find, good selection of almost everything that we have here at Luna and the Bear too.
Yeah.
Like I know that I can walk into France 44 and spend a good amount of time in that gin section.
Okay.
Same with South Lindale and all those places that I mentioned and a couple others. And generally at those places, they'll have people who will be able to speak to what it is that you're looking for. When you say like, I'm looking for a gin, but I don't like pine needles, or I want something that's very citrus forward. I want something that's going to present something unique that I haven't had before, like the gunpowders, like he was saying, or like I was telling you about those ones that are made with like different salts from around the world sort of situation. So those will present different flavors, and kind of like we have here, this different flight of gins. Like each one of these is very unique and different. So to be able to go into a place and have that selection would be really helpful.
What should one be expecting to spend? Like, let's say, so one of the ones that we've got is it St. George?
St. George Terroir.
And so that one, you were pretty excited about that.
Yeah. I'm actually excited about everything that I got.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So like if somebody is looking to kind of move beyond the mainstream
bottom shelf
piney,
situation.
juniper forward gins. What should they be expected to spend?
Well, I would say you should be looking to spend at the bottom end for a more unique style of gin. Very bottom, like low to mid 30s.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, like I think you can get, like St. George says, you can get it for 27 for a 750, which isn't bad actually.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
Really good.
All right,
but obviously from a big box liquor store.
Sure.
You know, one of those.
As some of the,
one of those.
I was recording a podcast and they would not name the place, but they're like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Like,
you know what I'm talking about. But for instance, the Schwarzwald, that will be, depending on where you get it, it could be anywhere from 40 something to 80 something.
Okay.
And then there's probably some others. Like I guarantee you that black gin that we have is probably in the mid 60s to 70s.
Okay. So it's not like, I mean, obviously it's a little more, but if you're buying craft beer, if you're buying craft spirits, you understand the concept of you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And so but
you'll also be able to find something in the range wherever you are.
Yeah. And so you can stock your home bar with a variety of things and not break the bank, which I think is nice because I'm always looking and just trying to, sometimes I think like, well, I'd never be able to really have a great home bar because all these, I just assume if they taste amazing, they've got to be really expensive.
Yeah, they don't have to be. Yeah. They don't have to be. And I think a good part of building a really great bar is having your base spirits, but also having like a good couple of bitters and a good Amari selection and a couple of liqueurs, because then allows you to play with it and to do unique things as opposed to just like, I know somebody who told me like, oh, I just go with the base spirit and that's all I was doing with that, as opposed like you can make a whole cocktail out of, some ice and these 3 components that you've got sitting in your cabinet.
Well, and then you won't be like me walking into Earl Giles and not understanding any of the words on the menu. You'll be like, what? Okay, I know this. I have a reference point. This was our first episode of February that went live on the 4th of February, and we recorded it at Modest in their fancy, swanky event space, and I was joined with Bree Smith and Sophia Masagi, who were involved in the collaboration beer that BCC brewed with Modest called The People's Way. In this clip, I kind of for the same reason I don't really love opening presents in front of people because I cannot like fix my face. I don't love drinking in front of everybody when they're waiting for me to give my opinion on something. So it's kind of funny. And of course, Bree and Sophia are great friends of mine, and I love it when they give me crap. So this is kind of a funny little clip.
Sorry, don't mind that.
So sorry, that's the air compressor.
I'm having a little bit
Old
of
man
gas.
Marley has awoken from his slumber. He's coming here to find the cardboard George Strait.
It's the flaw when it's so quiet in here. You can hear all the inner workings.
Yeah. So BCC got together and brewed a beer on January 4th. I remember it like it was yesterday.
I thought it was January 5th.
Was it January 5th?
It was a Thursday, right?
It's a Thursday.
I think it was the 5th because it was supposed to be the 4th, and I sent out that message, and then immediately someone was like, oh, by the way, we can't do it this day. And I was like, classic, I already sent out the message. And then it changed it.
Oh, you're absolutely right, because I went back to school on the 8th, 7/6/5.
Oh, so you had that week off then?
Yeah,
nice.
That's how I was able to attend.
Bless.
Which was really cool. And we're going to get to that later in the show. But I want to talk about the beer because I haven't had a sip yet, and I want to do that.
You're so intentional, Dan. I was noticing.
So, well, it's the only way to distract me from an amber lager is to put a Baltic Porter in front of me because I'm like a puppy and you distract me with like the treat while you go and, throw me in the cart and take me to the vet. So here we go. Ooh. It smells good.
It's clear. It's copper. It's
it really. If you hold it,
say so myself. It's
you
beautiful.
hold it up to the light. It is absolutely beautiful, and it doesn't translate to the podcast. But
that's all lagery, baby. No biofine at all.
That's nice.
No knock against biofine. I was going to put biofine in there,
the
the
centrifuge really did it.
Well, you have all the toys
also,
here. The bells and whistles.
Yeah, that was the
This
one.
beer had time, and
Yeah.
that's very important.
Yep. So let's.
He hates it. He hasn't said anything about it yet.
No, I'm like.
Did you even drink it yet?
He did drink it.
Oh, okay.
He's like, change the subject. It's awful.
Yeah. Now let's go to a commercial break. Now, when we come back,
No.
now a word from.
Chops. Shout out
Yeah, no, it
Chops.
smells good. It's nice and roasty.
Yeah.
Like not like roasty, but like there is a little bit of roast there.
Right.
I like. You're staring at me and making me. This is nice.
Thank you for saying
It's good.
that.
It is. I like how it finishes. It's like malty. Well, duh. Like
but it's not like overly like sweet.
I went to a conference once about malt, and they're like, "Stop describing beers as malty. We know there's malt in there."
I
I'm like,
describe beers like that, and people know what you fucking mean.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Get over themselves.
kind
Correct.
of more the malt characteristics
There we
that
go.
are jumping out at me are kind of like the toasted bread.
Thank you for saying that. That's what I was going for.
I like that it's like when you toast a piece of bread. Most people do not like the crust. That's like the first part I eat. I eat.
Well, because you have to.
Yeah.
Are you gonna fold
Well, no,
it in
you don't
half?
have to. There's a lot of
crazy if
You
you
could go
weren't.
like. Next time I have toast, I'm going to start in the middle and weird everybody out at first.
Send a video, please.
How are you?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's got that kind of toasted bread crust that I like. One of the telltale signs that it's spring is Lupulin Brewing Company's Big Beer Week, and I've been fortunate enough to record a podcast every single year that they've done Big Beer Week. And so this was it kind of every year they continue to just blow people away with the not only the sheer number of offerings they have, but like the different ones. And Aaron is always so gracious with his time and knowledge when he talks about barrel aging. And this particular clip involves talking about how rum barrels are often very structurally unsound and leaky. And there's a little bit of a funny story that goes along with that. So enjoy. Talk us through how, as I've learned over the years, I know that when you're aging beer in barrels, there's really no kind of recipe book for that, and it's different every year. I know that sourcing barrels continues to be more and more challenging. It's getting more and more expensive, and so I imagine that, what you had access to maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, in the past is probably more difficult. So do you want to kind of talk us through how you arrived at these two variants and what people can expect when they come in and try a pour and buy a bottle to take home?
Sure. So like you said, barrel procurement has gotten increasingly difficult with every year. It seems like the barrels are, cost probably 2+ times as much as they did 4 or 5 years ago, and the selection generally isn't as good even. Thing I'm looking for the most important thing I'm looking for is getting the freshest barrels we can get. So getting barrels that are dumped and sent here as quickly as possible and ready for us to use them. That's number one criteria. After that, do like to have variety in the releases. And when I say variety, we're still, that's the same base beer. So different bourbons, different whiskeys, different spirits. We've used rum a few times now. They're a pain, but we get some fun beers out of them.
Yeah. When you say they're a pain,
They leak a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
They usually arrive to us in pretty bad shape. A lot of times
Didn't you tell me one time a pirate jumped out and you had to chase him down?
he demanded respect.
on April 28th, the episode with Bob Galligan, the Director of Government and Industry Relations for the Minnesota Craft Brewers Guild, dropped. And Bob has not only been in the industry for a long time, has an exceptional palate. He has a background in acting. He is one of the wonderful people in this industry. And he is very plugged in to the political happenings at the state capitol. And we talked a lot about how the change and progressive nature of Minnesota's THC laws came to be, and it is fascinating. So I left that clip in there for you to enjoy, and I think you'll learn a lot about how we became how we are as it relates to the ability to enjoy THC beverages. Cheers. So Minnesota has become kind of like the blueprint or playbook for that. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is because you're right. We very much are, and even after the bill passed last session, a lot of my summer was spent fielding calls from brewers or guild leaders or lobbyists from other states, being like, "You did what? What language did you use on? Okay, can you send me more info on that?"
Yeah.
And always very open to say, "Yeah, sure. I mean, we're happy to help wherever we can." What I don't think a lot of people really realize is ultimately like what Minnesota did was we are not the only state that can sell and serve these products.
Right.
But most of the states are operating in this kind of gray area because the Federal Farm Bill of 2018 legalized it federally.
Okay.
And so a lot of the states either didn't know that you could produce this higher amount of Delta 9 from such low concentrations of THC in the hemp plant, or there's also a fair amount of states that are never going to address legalization.
Yeah.
At least not anytime soon. And so for them to even touch this subject would be like, no, that is not our field. If it's federally legal, great, but it's not our job. We're not interested.
Yeah.
What Minnesota did was we were the first state to turn that gray into black and say, like, no, you can produce these products. You just have to have them tested in this manner. You have to have them labeled in this manner. They cannot exceed this limit. They have to be stored this way. And so what we did was verify kind of a gray market. And that's been super, super exciting, again, because no one necessarily has done this. One of our initiatives this session was to eventually in March of 2025 next year, you will be able to serve THC beverages on tap.
Okay. And that's a new thing because right now
it has to be served in its original package, which would be considered the can. We, this session, have language introduced that hopefully will be bumping that up to July of this year. And hopefully it'll pass. It's looking good so far, but it's a little disconcerting and maddening because a couple of months ago there was a brewery in Texas that did THC on tap, and I just heard that there's a brewery in Wisconsin that's doing THC on tap. It's like I wanted to be the first, but we will be the first that says it's okay. We will be the first that actually has ingrained language protecting the ability to do it.
Well, they're not only the sponsor for this episode, but they were also the topic of my May 12th episode. I interviewed the crew over at Railworks Brewing Depot. This was actually, the interview took place before they opened. And we talked a lot about whether or not they thought Columbia Heights was ready for a family-friendly brew pub. Fun fact. They were, because that's become a really nice spot that has gotten some wonderful notoriety lately. And I think that William and Denise are doing a fabulous job. They were really smart and hired a very talented brewer, Cable Lefto, and the beers and the food that they're doing are really, really good. So if you haven't been to Railwork, check it out. But this, I think you'll enjoy this little clip. How do you convince people in Columbia Heights, where the beer culture is really in its infancy, that a brew pub can be a place for families?
Oh, I think the people of Columbia Heights are already seeing it just from talking with us, coming and visiting the space. The Columbia Heights and the residents, they have been wonderful. They are so supportive. They can't wait. Trust me, we get people coming to the door every day, if not just looking in the windows or, asking if they can help. We've had tons of people from the community just come help and clean stuff, fix things, get ready. So it's been wonderful to have that support. And that is, they are just aching for something like Railworks Brewing Depot to have a place to be a community at and have events, for their families, for workplaces, things like that.
I had the absolute privilege of sitting down with Britt Michael, who is the founder of Bubble Line Brewing Company in St. Paul. This was as she was kind of getting ready to do a big gauntlet of TV, radio, podcast interviews about opening up a brewery in St. Paul as the first Black female brewery owner in St. Paul in the state of Minnesota. So that was very exciting. And our conversation, this little clip centered around, why take the risk to open up a brewery when it's so difficult in craft beer? And, Britt is exceptionally smart and has a lot of perseverance. And I think if there's anybody who will be able to do this venture, it will be her. So enjoy that little clip. Cheers. The market, the climate right now for craft beer is it's on shaky ground. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
When other people might be seeing a caution flag, it seems like you see a green light. What is it about that, the specific, in St. Paul, in the last, there have been some breweries in St. Paul that have closed.
Yeah.
And not, unfortunately, not because their beer was bad. It's just because, negative kind of collateral damage from the economy and changing drinking habits.
Right.
Why do you see, or what about the market do you see as a space that Bubble Line can fill and be successful?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, and I think that's a good question for me to practice answering for the banks and stuff, right?
Because you're getting ready to essentially do kind of like a press junket.
Yeah,
like you're gonna be doing the gauntlet.
Yeah, and I'm not super excited about that part either. Like I don't need my face everywhere. That's super strange for me. Like I like to walk in the grocery store and just like chill and shop for my very like unhealthy Flamin' Hot Cheetos, like privately,
Yeah.
But looking at craft beer right now, what I see is kind of the ripple effects from the pandemic. Like, the margins on a taproom are wild. Like, when you buy a pint, you make way more money on that pint than you do on cans or on kegs or crowlers, for instance.
Right.
And I think that as a main source of revenue for a lot of places went away during the pandemic and created a hole that a lot of people couldn't get out of. And so even though craft beer is bouncing back, and maybe not quite to the levels that they did before, because I think the economy is still recovering too.
Yeah.
And people are a little bit more frugal with their money. But I still think that, like, no matter what would have happened post-pandemic, like, coming out of that hole was just way too hard for a lot of places. And so that's kind of my rationale in seeing a lot of places close and not being super afraid.
Yeah.
Because both luckily and unluckily, right? Like, I don't have to experience that. I'm coming in after all that has already happened.
Yeah.
As far as like drinking attitudes changing, I think the more fear we project around craft beer, the less enthusiasm that there's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe people are turning towards seltzers, or maybe people are turning towards XYZ. Like, from what I understand, that happens all the time, that like different generations want different things.
Right.
But there's always going to be a core that wants beer.
Yeah.
And showing the excitement of to those people is important, and I think it serves to draw more people in. Like at Bubble Line, I plan on doing homebrew courses, like teaching people how to brew beer at home. It is not hard.
Yeah,
it's not hard.
I mean, if you can keep something clean and read a recipe, you can make beer at home.
Yeah. It's like teaching people how to do that's going to be super fun. And I think that's going to help bolster some of that. And like, I can't reach everyone, right? Like, I'm not going to single-handedly like change the face of Minnesota beer, like, and like save the industry. Like, no, that's not.
But you don't have to. You just need to do that for a couple people at a time.
And maybe they'll show a couple other people. And they'll show a couple other people.
You know how it goes. Like a spot becomes a spot, not because like the owners will it to be. It's because people find it and they find something that they like and can attach to.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that there's a lot of need from that aspect in not only just the craft beer market, but like everything.
Yeah.
You know, there's like places there's places that are for everyone, and there's places that are for just certain groups.
Yeah.
And I guess in a perfect world, maybe this is my kind of pie in the sky. I mean, I don't think people would describe me as like an optimist, but I do have like this idea of
Dan hates everything.
My utopia would be like everybody can go everywhere and feel welcome.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's hard. That shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
You know, but yet we're at this point where, you know, there's a lot of breweries where, you know, if you look a certain way, if you have a certain gender, you might not be as comfortable. If you have a certain sexual orientation, you might not be as comfortable. And that sucks because like beer at its core should be, it is a communal beverage.
Yeah.
And so like the fact that not everybody feels comfortable going to any brewery that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, no secret. I'm a black woman. There's some places I don't go.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I don't want that for people. And like, to your point too, opportunity-wise, there's like, and this is an interesting term that I've chosen to use, but like, there's a brewery desert between like Bad Weather, Wandering Leaf, and here, right? Mm-hmm. Like St. Paul, like Rondo, Lexham, like Summit U, Highland Park.
Yeah, throw like Como in there too. There's nothing in Como.
There's no breweries there, right? So I'm like, maybe the craft brew industry is like quote unquote shrinking, or we're seeing the effects of the economy and all these other things, but like Rondo doesn't have a community destination.
Right.
And like it used to be this like really poppin' hub for like people of color and black people who, you know, lived in that community and like worked in that community, and that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So as someone coming from outside of Chicago and like having the opportunity and the privilege to be able to provide that for other people,
right,
I gotta do it.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you are enjoying A One Pint Stand. My aim is to help spread the word about craft beer. Enjoying craft beer is a passion of mine, and I love chatting about it with other people. A One Pint Stand has a goal of helping breweries tell their stories. I love to get out in and beyond Minnesota to visit breweries, beer bars, and meet other interesting beer people. If you are also into those things, you'll probably want to keep tabs on the show. So go ahead and follow A One Pint Stand on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter. I also started a TikTok account because I was tired of Charles calling me a boomer for not having one. We would also appreciate any and all positive reviews on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever it is you're finding our show. It's really helpful to allow other craft beer listeners to find us, and reviews go a long way in doing that. If you want to support the podcast with some of the extra change you found in your couch cushions, I have a Patreon. There are 3 different monthly levels of support that are priced at $1, $3, or $5 a month. If you pledge at the $3 or $5 monthly level, you get some pretty cool perks. So go to patreon.com and search A One Pint Stand to check it out. We are now up to 16 Patreon supporters, and I am really excited about what that means for the show. Now, if you like reading about craft beer, you can check out my written work at aonepintstand.com. I love to write, and that's always kind of been my first love. I do a lot of writing about beer events. Every summer, I'll take a beer trip, And I put all of those things in the written form. Obviously, I'm a little backlogged because writing takes a long time, but when it gets uploaded, it's there on the website for your perusal. I truly appreciate you listening and taking the time to enjoy our stories. Now, before we head back to the show, I want to talk about this episode's sponsor, Railworks Brewing Depot. A new brew pub in the heart of Columbia Heights, Railworks serves up a wide variety of beer, handcrafted cocktails, and house-smoked meats. Their large space is host to several weekly events including meat raffles, bingo, general knowledge and music trivia, live music, and comedy shows. Grab some family, some friends, or come on in by yourself and make a new friend. Railworks Brewing Depot, where the beer is cold, the barbecue is smoking, and family is everything. RailworksBrewingDepot.com.
How about a beer?
One of the hallmarks of A One Pint Stand is obviously my 5-year-old sense of humor and my desire to make my own sound effects. Sometimes, actually, before I got my new mixer, there were no sound effects. Now, there are some, like, sounds on there, like the sad trombone and the rim shot, but like before that, sometimes I'll just like make my own sound effects, and here are a couple of those instances. Enjoy. That is a One Pint Stand hot take.
That was a good sound effect.
Do my sound effects, yes.
But I hear you, Dan.
Yes.
Over the last...
Have you seen Brad?
Yes.
DJ
that's
Skelly
mainly
Brad?
why I go there.
Wiki.
Well, like when I got there, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like the last 2 days, I mean, we have tied it on like consistently, you know.
I love DreamYard.
Yeah. It's so good they put it on the side of a truck that drove by several times.
Those false patterns.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, too bad.
But I think I figured out a way to get him aboard that ship. I just took a sip of this coffee lager, and now I'm walking on air.
I can just like...
Which transformer is that? Kind of moving right along, on July 1st, my episode and beer conversation with Eric Senerud of Senerud Hop Consulting dropped, and this was fascinating to me. I think that, you know, we can all agree that hops are a very exciting beer ingredient. People go crazy. There's a reason IPAs are everywhere. And Eric did a wonderful job educating me and the listeners about public hops. There's public hops and there's private hops. So this particular little clip is about what defines a public hop. So enjoy that and give the entire episode a listen, because it is mind blowing what Eric knows about hops. Enjoy. Now you just use a word that I'm not familiar with. You said public hops. What does that mean?
So there are different ownership models.
Eric has just pulled out an Encyclopedia Britannica that is handwritten. So here we go. Buckle up, folks.
There are different ownership models behind every hop variety. Public hops are what might be implied by that. They are owned by nobody in particular. In America, there's a public hop breeding program that, you know, you, Dan, and my tax dollars go to support. For anyone on the listening to this who gets grumpy about taxes, don't worry about it. It's a very, 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 very small percentage. And in that program, they started that program so that after Prohibition, America could be competitive in hop production again, because we had lost all of our hop production. We were, you know, losing that hop, you know, import-export battle. And so they said, we're going to invest in domestic varieties. So we're going to have a breeder. Dr. Al Honnold was one of the first breeders. Dr. Al Honnold created a program, and it's been working ever since then to develop American public hop varieties. Either public hops, that means that they were developed using federal dollars and then released from the federal USDA breeding program, and then anyone, anywhere in the world can grow those hops, Anyone anywhere in the world can sell those hops. Any brewer anywhere in the world can buy them from anyone who's selling them. They are free hops, another way to think about it, like free market hops, like perfect competition, essentially. And that is public hops. Not only was that what built American hop production to be first or second in the world, depending on the year, flip-flops with Germany traditionally. Primarily Washington State, but also Oregon and Idaho. Started mostly in Oregon. But that public hop breeding program put America on the map for hop production, but then also, because of the coolness of hops and of breeding programs, which we may not get into all of that, but there's a fingerprint in every breeding program. And people will say it's the fingerprint of the breeder. But there is almost an infinite world of genetics that hops can pull from. There's parentage, there's males and there's females, and there's wild hops, and there's all these hops in the world you could cross and see what happens with their progeny.
Yeah.
But also, breeders have preferences. They have different traits they promote and different traits they don't approve of, they don't like as much. I mean, people drink beer have different preferences. Brewers have different preferences. So there's always this human influence on what the hop does. But this public hop breeding program created Cascade, created Chinook, created Centennial. These cornerstone
Yeah, I was going to say, those
flavors.
are like the pillars of craft beer, essentially.
The flavors that defined what made American craft beer different from not American craft beer. And then now, by extension, that sort of hop flavor and hop expression of fruit. Just a fruit versus, a lot of German hops expressions are flowery or spicy or certainly more restrained. That expressive American hop profile that's led by fruit, maybe some sweetness or pine or grapefruit, or nowadays, it is more sweet candy and vanilla stuff. But like that start is what defined American craft beer and still does. You can't escape that.
Yeah.
And it's also now defining IPA as a style, as American style IPAs are what become exported to the rest of the world. You go to every country in Europe, there are craft brewers, and in those craft breweries, they're selling you IPAs, but American style. That is the American style that's being exported.
The last episode of July was a really fun beer conversations with Bill Eddins, who is one of the co-owners of Metronome Brewing, downtown St. Paul. And so one of the things that I don't know how many people know about Bill is that he is a fantastic musician and is the conductor of the Minnesota Orchestra. And he told the tale, and I think when this episode aired, I think this was actually a Patreon-only little clip. So if you are not a Patreon member, you've never heard this story. So this is, Bill was talking about when they opened, and then after that, they had this little kind of like hush-hush concert with Wynton Marsalis, who came to Minnesota and played in Fingal's Cave, and it's a really cool story. So enjoy.
And then in September of 22, I had talked to a friend of mine into playing Fingal's Cave. And if you're into jazz, you may have heard his name.
Yeah.
Wynton Marsalis.
Yes. Yes.
I
would say even if you're not into jazz, you know who Wynton Marsalis is.
You just might. And I talked him into, we were opening the Minnesota Orchestra's season together. Him with the Jazz and Lincoln Center Orchestra, and I was conducting because I've had a chance to work with both ensembles over many, many years. The reason I'm here in Minnesota is because of the Minnesota Orchestra. Got hired by them in '92, and I've stayed since. And gotten to work with the JLCO a bunch in the last 6 or 7 years. It's just been terrific. We're opening the season, and I asked him, hey, just stay an extra day and come play my place. And I had planted this seed in his mind way back in March because we were working together. And here it was, the end of September, about 8 days before this date, and I finally got a confirmation that he was going to stick around and play. I could have called anybody, any side guys in jazz, and said, I don't care what you're doing next Sunday night, you're now working for me.
Yeah.
And they would have gone, "You're high," and I would have said, "Wynton Marsalis," and they would say, "What?"
Let me get on Google Flights here. Let's see how we make this happen.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. It really doesn't. I decided to do something a little crazy, and I called these kids who I know really talented. The bass player was 19 at the time. The drummer was 20. The pianist is the old man at 25. And I said, bring your A game. You're playing for Wynton. And they freaked.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did they do after they pissed themselves?
They freaked out. I got to tell you, though, it was terrific because we let a couple people know, people who have been real just supporters of Metronome from the beginning.
Sure.
A couple people who had contributed to our investor raises or just helped us around the brewery to get things going. I said, you need to be here Sunday night. And they all came. And earlier that afternoon, I got on social media and just said, Wynton Marsalis, Fingal's Cave, 6:30 p.m. And about 5 minutes later, the phone blew up. And 6:30 came. Not only was Fingal's, I don't want to say what capacity was down there. There are a lot of people down there, but up here in the tap room, it was full because we had arranged for a video and sound feed up here. It was full. And I remember coming up during the show at one point, and it was dead silent up here except for the music, and everyone was just staring at the screens and listening to what was happening right under their feet. It was incredible. It was one of the greatest nights of my life, without any doubt. The kids were amazing. Wynton really enjoyed the experience, but people say it was one of those. It really was one of those once in a lifetime experiences.
Sure,
we'll probably never have that happen again. We were suddenly on the map. People went, "Oh my God, Wynton just played your place. Can I come play your place?"
Yeah.
Sure, you can come play my place.
The episode that dropped on the 22nd of September was a recap of my trip to Louisville, Kentucky with Paige and Rick Dodora. So Paige was actually on 2 times in 2024. That's why it was such a good year. So Rick and Paige talk about the hotel ghost tour they received in Louisville. I think this was previously also a Patreon-only clip, and it's a hilarious story. Rick and Paige together are a very enjoyable and fun storytelling duo. So they tell that tale, and I could not stop laughing. So I hope you enjoy it. Cheers.
We went inside a hotel where I'm pretty sure we got a tour from a ghost, and then that was like where we ducked into when it was raining. It was, nice. And then when we went to Noble Funk, and then while we were there, it got way worse. Like I was like, I'm worried our plane's gonna be delayed. That's how bad it was.
But the ghost tour, as in the ghost gave us the tour. It wasn't a ghost not
like people in costumes. Okay.
Right? No, like we were given a tour by. I'm convinced he was a ghost.
I agree.
Because listen, we have small bladders. We were talking about the seal earlier.
I'm thinking about peeing right now.
Right, it doesn't exist when it comes to us, especially when you travel. You visit breweries, distilleries, all that. It's like the seal is gone. It's not even there anymore. The warranty is void, et cetera, et cetera. And so we stepped into this historic old hotel.
The Seelbach Hotel.
The Seelbach Hotel.
It was on 4th Street, which
Not
I don't know if you
walked. Not the broken Seelbach Hotel.
Perfect.
Did you walk around the 4th Street area?
That's the one that went down.
4th Street Live is like kind of what it's called. There's like a partially covered part of the street. Okay.
No. So would you recommend it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit like I wouldn't. It's kind of like elements
Guy Fieri's
of
got
like,
a restaurant there.
Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, so it's like on the map to Flavortown? Is that
kind of. But then there was like also like a car show and like I don't know. It's a mix of touristy and also like legit. So I don't know, take what we will, I guess.
So our tiny bladders were directing us to somewhere where we could relieve ourselves
without being noticed.
Without being noticed, and we actually have it's not a travel hack. It's just a small bladder hack, which is that if you go into a hotel,
preferably a large hotel.
Generally speaking, you can kind of find your way to the bathroom.
You just have to act like you own the place.
Act like you own the place. Act like you're a guest in that hotel because you're about to use their facilities.
So you'll become a guest.
So we walk into this old historic hotel and we are mystified. Like the splendor of the place probably bought us each an extra like 15 minutes of bladder time. I don't even know how.
Shock.
We walked in and we were just like, what the hell is this? And there's beautiful artwork everywhere. There's marble, there's woodwork. Like, we were just like, this place is insane. And we love architecture. So we were just like, what is this? Like, what's going on in here? And we're just wandering around with our heads pointed upwards.
And it's a block away from Guy Fieri's Roadhouse. So you're like not really expecting it.
Right. It's beautiful. And we're just kind of wandering in circles like, look at this place. Both of us kind of in the back of our minds like, but if you see a bathroom.
Yeah, the goal is to pee.
Right.
Well, this guy just wanders out from I don't know where, a hallway, and he was like, hi there. Would you guys like to see the...
No, he said, do you want to see something?
Yeah, he just said, do you guys want to see something? And we're like...
Not while I have to pee.
Like, this could be anything.
Like,
who
hopefully
knows?
It's the toilet.
Hopefully it's toilet. So he takes us into this elevator, and he takes us up to, right? Like,
no, first we went down.
Oh, you're right. First we go down, and he shows us this like massive old bar room with these like vaulted
it's called
weird
the Rat
ceilings.
Skeller.
It's a Rat Skeller.
Oh, okay.
These vaulted ceilings. He talks all about like the history of the hotel. You know, it was built in 1908 or something.
Yeah,
something like that. And he said, Al Capone used to hang out here.
Like in the teens. I think it was like 1912.
Yeah, and he's like, this is a big like a hub for like rum runners and stuff like that.
Okay.
And organized crime and all this like stuff. We're like, wow. And he's like showing us all this cool stuff. He's like, you guys want to see something else?
And then he said, he also said that The Great Gatsby was written.
That's
part
right.
of it was written at the bar down there.
So apparently, so the lore goes, F. Scott Fitzgerald used to hang out at this bar a lot when he was in Louisville. I guess he lived there for a while. Citation needed, but whatever.
No, I looked it up.
No, yeah, he did
because
I looked it up.
He also spent time in Asheville, where he committed his wife to an asylum.
Yeah.
Under very odd.
It was different times.
Yeah.
It was a whole Capone. There's a whole Capone element. He took us to all these other places in the hotel.
Right. He took us, and so after showing us the bar, and we were like, well, this is kind of fascinating because like old bars and that. And he's like, oh, I'm going to show you guys something else. He takes us up to the 12th floor or something like that.
The ballroom.
The ballroom floor, and he shows us this secret room where like Al Capone did all his
It had like a second exit where they could close these doors so he could exit.
He's like, there's a secret exit over here, and if you press a button, the doors will slide shut. And all
I was like, is this real life? I was so.
Could I see where Al Capone used to cut a whiz?
And then he's
about
like,
that time, buddy.
And then he takes us up to another floor. And he's like, now this floor is the ballroom, and it's hot as the dickens up there.
He's like, obviously we haven't had any events in here recently because it's real hot.
He's like, and this used to all be open air. I'm like,
it was a garden.
Was.
It used to be a garden.
Yeah.
It was like this big deal because people would go see this garden in the sky. Anyway, so he gets done with showing us literally the whole hotel, and then
both of us are just kind of like kicking each other.
Show us out.
Are you gonna ask him? Are you gonna ask him? Are you a ghost? Sorry, where's the bathroom?
That's right. So then he showed us the bathrooms, and we were like, thank God. Yeah.
And we walked. We used the bathroom, and then we walked out, and he demanded that we review the hotel, and we review him specifically on TripAdvisor, but don't say that he gave you a tour. Just review him and say that he's a great concierge. And we were like, sure. And we both did it. Like he put us under a spell.
We literally did it.
So we had to do it.
I was hypnotized.
And we were probably like a block away, and we just kind of turned to each other. The rain started falling. We turned to each other like, that guy was a ghost, right? Like that was definitely was a ghost.
We're definitely staying there the next time we go.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. It was the most amazing hotel.
And what was this place called?
The Sealback. And I told him when he was giving us a tour, I said, this reminds me of the Palmer Hotel.
That's right.
I said, it reminds me of the Palmer Hotel in Chicago.
Like
and he's like, a lot of people. Yes, exactly. Really similar.
Okay.
Really similar to the Pfister, which is in Milwaukee. Really similar to the Palmer in Chicago. It's got to be like the same architect or something.
Yeah.
Well, the Palmer Hotel in Chicago
is related to Peerless.
Yes, because Al Capone had.
I stayed there once.
Like a couple rooms there. The guy who started Peerless
sold them a bunch of spirits to use medicinally, I assume. Walgreens bought
medicinally.
exactly.
Yeah.
Peerless,
they said Al Capone had like a block of rooms on like the second floor. That
if
was
you've not been there, you should go. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You can go just use the bathroom.
Meet a ghost.
Only if Lenny the ghost is there. Wait, we're not supposed to use his real name. Shit, sorry. We got to start over. The first episode of November was my chat with Tim Matson-Collins and Sophia Masagi, who make up the team of brewers at Head Flyer. Tim and Sophia talk about their positive working relationship as it pertains to creating beers that keep people coming into Head Flyer. I think Head Flyer has always been viewed as a very quality brewery in kind of northeast Minneapolis, and I think it's no secret that Tim and Sophia also work really well together. So if you didn't listen to that full episode, it's pretty interesting about Tim's like journey into brewing, and he and Sophia had previously worked together at Black Stack Brewing back in the day. So they're reunited and having a great time. And now you're at Head Flyer.
Here we are, yeah.
And the band is back together.
That's right.
It is.
That's exciting. So Sophia, what was the draw of this place?
Basically Tim, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of was trying to figure out what I was gonna do next, and I just wanted to chat, because I loved Tim as a friend, and so we met up and we were chatting, and
at Arbiter.
At Arbiter, and I was like, "Oh, how's your position?" And then he's like, "Oh, I'm actually looking for assistant brewer," and I was like, "Cool, tell me more." And then that's kind of how it led to it. Yeah. So this was late July, I want to say.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Talk to me about the synergy between you two, because I know that depending on the size of a brewery, there's a head brewer, maybe there's a lead brewer, shift brewers, and then sometimes it's just the head brewer, and sometimes in a brewery, if they've got a head brewer and an assistant brewer, what is that relationship like from the brew house standpoint?
I guess I'll talk about it. So I consider this specific position here at Head Flyer to be a 2-person job. And Sophia and I just have different responsibilities, but we both have the same passion for beer and the same responsibility for making sure that everything that's coming out of the tank is up to our personal standards. So although my responsibility is to kind of formulate the production schedule, ordering ingredients, making sure that everything is production wise moving forward, we're the same team, right? We still have the same responsibilities of okay, we both need to brew this beer hitting our specs. We both need to make sure that, our DO is low. We both need to make sure that all these things. So for me, I consider it more of if we remove the roles of head brewer and brewer, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I really rely on Sophia about a lot of things that I guess I would be in my own head about. At A side, I was always just okay, well, I'm going to make this decision and I can't talk about it with anybody. I just have to all right, here's what I would do on paper. It makes sense. But I didn't have anybody to be does this look good?
Yeah.
I just have to be okay, I guess I'll do this and hope it turns out. But now, the reason I wanted Sophia is because she's so experienced. She's really passionate. She works really hard. And so every decision that I'm responsible for, I can be okay, what do you think about this? And vice versa. Anytime that, Escalating Falcon, this hazy IPA that we're doing together, it's always just conversational.
Yeah.
Being okay, here's what we want to do. How do we make it work? And I'm not putting decisions. I'm not just being here, do this, do this, do this. It's always conversational. To be okay, well, here's what I think. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then we can kind of have a little bit more back and forth. Yeah.
On the 17th of November, my interview with the Spiral Brewery head brewer Morgan Smith dropped. And Morgan is one heck of a human being. We talk about how Team Nevertheless has helped women get into beer, but, without too much celebration, understanding that there is a lot of work still to be done to get more women involved in working at breweries. And it was a really, really nice conversation. That's cool.
Don't have time to name them all individually.
This is a good segue into what I really want to spend some time talking about. You mentioned Team Nevertheless, and I think one of the interesting things about beer, despite the fact that if you go back and crack a history book and look at beer throughout the history of the world, beer's been brewed by all types of people, all over the world. But in Minnesota, and I think this is true in a lot of places, at least with craft beer, it is very male-dominated. And I'm sure it's no fun. I've experienced this in my life as a Latino teaching out in a western suburb. Not a lot of other teachers of color. It's not always great to feel like you don't really, that you're not, your voice is maybe a very small voice or a singular voice in some cases. Team Nevertheless is a really fantastic group. Do you want to talk about kind of what the group is, how you became a part of it, and kind of what having a group like that has meant to you, being a woman in beer?
Yeah, I mean, that group has been really awesome, and when Ariel first, started forming the group back in, I think it was 2021, it didn't really occur to me to think about how many other women there were in production at the time, especially in a brewing role. I at the time actually worked with one other woman on the team at Liftbridge. So 2 out of 3 of the shift brewers were women. Right?
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously it had been really, clearly male dominated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she had reached out to Paige. Ariel reached out to Paige about starting this group, and I'm kind of aloof and wasn't really paying attention. And Paige had asked me to meet with them, and I just didn't get back to her. And after they met together, they had sent out this email like, "Hey, you're a woman in the industry, in a brewing role. We want to brew beer with you." And I was like, "Oh, Paige, is this what you were talking about the other day?" She's like, "Yeah. Why didn't you come with me?" And I was like, "Oh, my bad. I should have texted you back." But yeah, so I was actually in on the first brew, and I've been to every brew since that we've done. And I think we just did our 7th brew at Torg.
Yeah. Yep.
Which by the time this episode comes out, we will have had the release party, but it will still be on tap at their brewery. I wish I could say the name. It's not, it starts with an M. And it's got a bunch of vowels in it. So.
Oh, okay.
But it's going to be great.
Yeah. That'll be. I was actually at Bad Weather the day they brewed that, because that coincided with E.
Yeah.
Doing a little brewer's talk. So at Bad Weather's been kind of cool. And I love when places do this. I know that sometimes not everybody, when they're done with their job, wants to hang out at work. But when a brewer releases a beer and will be there to talk about it, I just think that's really fun and informative, a nice way for people to feel like, people come to craft breweries to have an experience. And so E was talking about the alt that she brewed, and that was the same day that they brewed at Torg. But they said that the brew day was a lot of fun. Now, I didn't realize that, because I'm like, okay, I need to know. I know, that there are some breweries in Minnesota that are women-owned, and that's cool. But there's, more people as, you kind of, start, the list is getting longer and getting bigger. Do you feel like that is coincidence, or is it a result of Team Nevertheless promoting women in beer, connecting women in beer?
I would say for more women being in production, absolutely. In terms of women as owners, I would say probably not.
Yeah.
In production, yeah, I think it's been more popular, and like just seeing us out there, helps. Because like when Maddie from Unmapped, Maddie Joe, she got into the industry after we had formed Team Nevertheless, and she I think she went to the brewing program at DCTC, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so she actually got involved with Team Nevertheless before she was actually even in the industry as a production person.
Oh, cool, okay.
And I don't know if she would say that, Team Nevertheless existing made it easier or more interesting to her. But yeah, when we started our first brew day, I think we had 11 women, and Ariel emailed every single brewery in the state. Hey, do you have any women in brewing? Do you have, is there any women on your production team? And 11 of us. And I mean, there was maybe one or two that weren't able to make it, but I mean, like one or two.
Yeah.
And this was, what did I say? Almost 4 years ago, I think. Because I think our first brew was February 2021.
Okay.
And so now we're up to like 25, maybe pushing almost 30. And this is just active brewing rolls. This isn't packaging. This isn't lab. This is just brewing.
Yeah.
And it's always been that way. But yeah, if you think 25 out of there's 213 breweries in the state, that's not very good. Is it better than 11 out of 190 or whatever there were 4 years ago? Sure.
Yeah.
But not really.
Right. On the 1st of December, I published my first episode that really dove headfirst into mead. I chatted with Noah Stein and Scott Reefer, who are two of the several co-founders of Bumbling Fools Mead in Northeast Minneapolis. And I had so many questions, and that was definitely the longest episode of the year because I wanted to get so much information about mead out there. Mead is fascinating. So this clip was during the part of the episode where I was asking them to define certain terms that are specific to mead. So we talked about this clip is all about what does the term back-sweeten mean for mead, and how does it play into the creation of that historical beverage. Enjoy. Things that I was curious about. So I've got a couple. I'm going to throw out some terms, and I would love if you could help define those for me and my listeners, so that there's a little bit more putting a little bit more mead knowledge out into the ether. So let's start with back sweeten. I hear the term back sweeten a lot. What does that mean as it pertains to mead?
So essentially, when fermenting, the yeast will go. They will chew up the sugars and make alcohol until one of two things happens. Either they reach their alcohol tolerance and then they start to slow down and fall asleep and die, or they run out of sugar to do. In which case, then you're left with a dry mead afterwards. And so if you want mead to be sweet, there's kind of two ways to do it. You can either let the yeast go to their alcohol tolerance, at which point they'll stop generating more alcohol, and then any sugar left over is residual sugar, which works fine. But then you are at whatever their alcohol tolerance is, which usually, again, 12 to 14, maybe 18%. And that's not necessarily always the thing that you want. The other option would be to give them the amount of sugar that you want to reach the alcohol content that you want. Let them burn through all of that. And then once the yeast have gone to sleep, you can stabilize it so that essentially the yeast cannot wake back up and do more fermentation. And once the yeast have been dealt with in that fashion, then you can add more sugar to make it sweet. And then, again, without having the yeast wake back up to make more alcohol. And so that's essentially what back sweetening is once the process has all finished, you can add additional honey to taste to reach the desired product. And that is largely what we do, is essentially after the yeast have done their thing, we add a drop of.
The last episode of the year went live on the 15th of December. It was the first time I had actually done a live, well, not live recording, but recorded at a beer event, and it was really cool. It was the Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative Hurricane Relief Fundraiser. They got together to create kind of a mini beer festival and raise some money that they would then donate to the American Red Cross for to help people in Asheville, North Carolina, who had been devastated by the hurricanes. So this was my chat with Jeremy Matheson, who is the operations manager at Broken Clock. And Jeremy just talked about how the hurricane fundraiser kind of came together. So that was a really, really good interview. Introduce yourself and say your specific title here at Broken Clock, and then I'm going to pepper you with questions about how this event came to be.
Sounds like a plan. So Jeremy, I'm the operations manager and community outreach here at Broken Clock. That's kind of my role and my job here.
Yeah. And I am also an owner.
That's right.
I'm a member of this wonderful cooperative here in Northeast Minneapolis. I remember several months ago, I think you had posted in the Facebook Minnesota Craft Beer Industry page, just kind of floating an idea out there about, hey, really like to do something. Would anybody else be interested? Talk to me about your impetus for wanting to do that.
Yeah. So this started, like you said, a month and a half or so ago, and it really started as a conversation. I was sitting down with a friend of mine, Ashley, and I was telling her that I felt so helpless because I don't have any actual skills that would allow me to go down to North Carolina and help all of these victims. And, she kind of looked at me and she's like, we have beer. And I was like, yeah. She's like, why don't we just get a bunch of our friends together, throw in some kegs, and we'll just do a fundraiser. And I was like, oh, I guess that is something we can do. So basically that's where the idea came from. And literally the next day, because there's a lot of licensing things that you have to go through in order to put something like this on.
Yeah.
I immediately just threw out there to a Facebook group like, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. Is anyone willing to donate a keg? And, literally immediately people were throwing in their hats in the ring to want to be a part of this thing, and it happened just so fast. Like we didn't even have, once I got that post and I had a handful of places committed, I was like, okay, I can kind of let that do its thing while I'm going through the legal process of making sure that we can actually pull this thing off, and that was really kind of how it all kind of came to be. And looking back on it, it's like, man, if we would have had like 6 to 8 months to plan this out, we could have had 100 breweries, I feel like, because so many people stepped up and how this community is. It's no matter how difficult things are for any one brewery, they're always there to step up to help other people out, and it literally showed in a matter of minutes of posting.
2024 was filled with so many great podcast interviews. This highlight show is just the tip of the iceberg. If you heard something that piqued your interest, you can find all the full episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. I want to sincerely thank you for listening. This show started as a creative outlet for me, and I never really thought it would take hold like it has. But it's grown into a very special community of people who come together wherever you're at to listen to stories of some really dedicated and passionate individuals that center around the craft beverage industry. I think that now more than ever, it's important to get those stories out so that the industry can weather the storm of a lot of shifting drinking habits and economic factors that make it trickier and more difficult to thrive as a small business. Also, I know that January is historically a very tough time for the service industry in general, but also craft breweries, craft distilleries, craft cideries, craft wineries, everything. I just want to implore you all to remember to support your favorite spots any way that you can. And I know that a lot of you do dry January, or a lot of you have moved away from alcohol. There's still ways to go in and support. You can buy a gift card for somebody. Just consider doing a little bit. I'm pretty mindful of that myself. As this last weekend, I went to a couple places, and it was pretty obvious that there's been a little bit of dip in traffic. So, if you want your favorite spots to be around, you have to do a little bit and go support them. I want my favorite spots to be around for a long, long time. So, just don't forget about that as you're kind of moving into 2025. I also want to give a special shout out to some amazing people. I continue to be humbled with the folks who sign up to become Patreon supporters. And I want to give a special thank you to Chuck Dorsey, Vicky Epper, Daniel Fisher, Todd Fitzloff, Matt Holton, Cable Lefto, Ben Michaels, Sophia Masagi, Brent Newman, Bree Smith, and Sarah Cry Valento for being keg stander level supporters of the A One Pint Stand Patreon. You've all shown incredible generosity, and I'm grateful for it. So cheers to you all. Well, just when I thought I had everything edited and ready to go, I got a notification that we've got another keg stander supporter. So Marcus Dodson, thank you for your Patreon support. Cheers, buddy. I also want to give a huge thanks again to the sponsor for this episode, Railworks Brewing Depot. Nestled in the heart of Columbia Heights, Minnesota, Railworks is a family-friendly hub for all your drinking and dining needs. Come by for great beer, delicious cocktails, and smoke and barbecue. Check out their website to keep up to date with taproom happenings, railworksbrewingdepot.com. With that, this has been another episode of A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast where the pants stay on, but the caps come off. Cheers. A week ago, I used the term hotboxing wrong, and all of my students were like, what?
Bearing witness to a lot of pages of research. And I just...
And this will be the most sessionable of our big beer releases, coming in at 10.1%.
You're gonna shotgun this son bitch.
Just barely meets our criteria.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to.
ChatGPT is the bane of my existence, because that's why I have to have kids write their fucking papers on paper.
So great. I wish I was in school with AI.
And there's cinnamon rolls, like
devils
forget about it.
Cinnamon rolls. I'd plop them on the side of my head like Princess Leia, and then, sir, you need to leave.
Which I think a lot of us kind of like dip our toes into it at the very least. Or if you're or if you're slightly more normal, you might actually drink it and consume it. And
do not pee on the fax machine. Where do you
teach math?
No. God, no, you wouldn't want me teaching math.
I know you don't.
Talk about widening the achievement gap. That would be that'd be putting the gin next to the gunpowder, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God, it would explode still. It would still explode.
But the test scores would explode in the wrong direction.
Everything's coming naked. It'll be rubbed.
Fuck you. This shouldn't be good.
In 2024.
It's 2024?
Yes. Oh. Yeah, I told you. Take your tinfoil hat off. Get with the times. Create.
Even the Girl Scouts know that a limited number of available whatever it is creates supply and demand.
By Girl Scouts, do you mean organized crime? Because last I checked, when you're charging $7.50 for 3.5 cookies, that's illegal. What are some things that you learned along the way that you're kind of excited to all right, I'm going to do this time right from the get-go?
And
if you say washing your hands, this podcast is over.
Well, I won't say it then, Dan.
Okay. Gone to La Quinta Inn and Suites in Toledo and brought Monopoly, we would have had the time of our lives. What was your...
I think it's pronounced La Quinta.
We're going to go to commercial now. When we come back to the... oh, God. I'm going to have the folks at Babbel I just lost that sponsorship. I I've heard Poopy Longstockings cry more than Gia. Just kidding.
They came up to the bar and they saw us putting those glasses into the dishwasher. And since this is a podcast and not a video, I'll just tell you that the glass that we're talking about is like the glass that's shaped like a can.
Yeah.
So it's, in this case, it's a 16 ounce or maybe slightly more, but it looks like a can. So the top of it has like a little lip, the way the aluminum of a can goes towards the seam. And these people were, this person was looking at it. And he looked at it and he said to us, and I don't think he was drunk, he said, "I wonder how they get the can out of there." And I said, "Excuse me?"
Because it's not a triple IPA, is what I've heard.
Usually not.
Well, yes, I like the jet fuel quality of this ale. And
Probably my favorite label this year is the Old Forester one. Maybe slightly inspired by a particular experience I had with fungus in a forest one time. That's what tree bark looks like.
You and the Mario Brothers.
What are you getting on? Oh, that face. The face. There's a crinkle eye, crinkle nose.
Here's an analogy.
There's a physical reaction.
I feel like I just got the most delicate back rub from a professional and then walked outside and instantly slipped on the ice.
Oh, no.
It's just kind of a... No, seriously, my feet
are actually really small.
Ridiculously weird looking. They're ginormous. My toes are like E.T. fingers, and there's like a patch of hair that's in the shape of Idaho on each toe? Dog. It's on like the center, like a hobbit, like a Colombian hobbit. In the 2018, when we stayed overnight at the Dogfish Head Inn, the next morning he was doing some combination of, I don't know if it was yoga or
Tai Chi.
You know, a very slowed down version of Sweating to the Oldies, where he was just doing all these stretches, and I'm like, what is he doing? It's so. I have like 4 minutes of silent video of him just like doing all these.
You know, we're on a podcast. They can't see
I know.
you.
Yeah.
Dan's waving his arms around slowly,
exactly,
rhythmically.
Some people are thinking, "Oh, that's cute. That man wanted to be an air traffic controller, and he's doing a podcast instead." Yeah.
So people, if you're listening out there, put down the IPA. Sorry to dump on IPA so early in the podcast, but just put...
It always happens.
It always happens. Just put down the IPA and go and take a chance on the something.
Right.
And because we're a bunch of cheap ass sons of bitches, we didn't do a lot of
You still have the birch trees. I'm like waiting for that. Just get some old fucking cellos and put them there.
We thought of that.
This podcast is devolving so quick, Dan. Those five listeners are going to go down even more.
Unless they like tea, which brings me to our last sponsor, Teabag. Sure, the Queen of England is gone, but that doesn't mean you can't drink like her. Get a Tetley's Teabag, and you'll be like you're back at Buckingham Palace. All right, when we come back, I'll be doing the play-by-play for the Closers versus the Dual Citizen Brewing Company. This is A One Pint Stand here live at Brewers League Kickball. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back to A One Pint Stand. We're going to talk about... Okay. I'm worried that we've said nuts so many times that anybody with an allergy is going to go into anaphylaxis, but that's... Would we have done the russet potato tour? That was...
that would have comprised... that would have been at least 3 days, I feel like.
The russet potato tour is just a field.